Actually, thank you.
Daniel Francis.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I rise to speak to Amendment 24 in my name. And I would like to start by thanking the member for Spen Valley for inviting me to be a member of the Bill Committee. I accept the principle that somebody, given the devastating news that they have 6 months left to live, should be able to choose the moment that they die with their loved ones around them. But this is not a vote on the principle. We are not being asked to make an arbitrary yes or no choice, for we are legislators. And my experience from the Bill Committee tells me that this bill, as it is written, still requires additional safeguards to address the concerns that so many people in this country have. For me, it was death and my thoughts and concerns about what happens when I die that drew me to my conclusions on this matter. I'm not going to because of time constraints, I'm sorry. But like a small number of other members in this House, I know the daily concerns when you are the parent of a child with complex disabilities, including a learning disability. That concern lives with you every single day of your life. That concern about what will happen to your child when you are gone, about who will assist your child because of the help they require due to their level of mental capacity, due to the difficulties they have communicating and the difficulties they have interpreting information. The concern that haunts me every single day is who will make and how will they make those decisions to support my daughter when my wife and I are gone. That concern, which is shared by thousands of others, led me to the conclusion that the Mental Capacity Act was not written for this scenario. When you are the parent of someone with a learning disability, you become accustomed to supporting them in their decision-making. You understand their sight and communication difficulties. You understand the language needed to help them make a decision. The Mental Capacity Act rightly has a low bar to allow individuals to live a fulfilling life, because we wouldn't want individuals to have their capacity assessed to purchase a coffee or withdraw money from the bank. I've raised countless times at the Bill Committee, and it's never been challenged. In fact, it's been accepted in some exchanges that the following scenario would be absolutely possible to occur. An adult with a learning disability discovers they have less than 6 months to live. They have a level of mental capacity which allows them to make many decisions in life. They have enough capacity to understand they could be a burden on their elderly parents. And their elderly parents might take the view that they require support, however, to make the most complex of decisions. Yet their son or daughter, because they will be assumed to have capacity under Principle 1 of the Mental Capacity Act, could go through the entirety of this process, and the first time their parents would be aware is when they have been informed that their child has been assisted to die. It is for that reason that I also support Amendments 8, 10 and 33 in the names of my honourable friends from Derby North and Lowestoft, relating to family members being aware of the process. Furthermore, because Principle 2 of the Mental Capacity Act states a person is not to be treated as unable to make a decision unless all practical steps to help them have been taken without success, it has again been accepted during Bill Committee process that doctors would have to assist individuals in this scenario to make that decision about an assisted death. And from my lived experience, I would query how some aspects of the Mental Capacity Act are currently being carried out, given I often have to deal with professionals who deem my daughter has less or more capacity than she actually has. I've accepted she wouldn't have enough capacity to go through this process, but the Bill Committee has heard no evidence from MenCap that the vast majority of people with learning disabilities in this country are not in the same position and could apply for an assisted death. The Bill Committee heard from many people, I'm conscious of the time. Dr Rachel Clark raised her concerns about capacity. Baroness Falconer, giving evidence on behalf of the Equality and Human Rights Commission, said that capacity is a very serious consideration in their concerns. Dr Jamila Hussain gave evidence of one palliative care team deeming someone had capacity, while another palliative care team on the same person deemed they didn't. We heard from Professor Gareth Owen raising his concerns, Dr Annabel Price raising her concerns, Dan Scorer from MenCap raising his concerns. And in the last week, we've seen the Law Society saying that Parliament should fully consider how the Mental Capacity Act would operate under the bill before any legislation is passed. The Royal College of Psychiatrists saying while they're neutral on the issue, They do oppose this legislation as it stands, and they oppose it particularly on mental capacity aspects, because it does not correlate with the Mental Health Act and this legislation as it's written, and the Royal College of Physicians coming out in the last few days to support them. Now, I will conclude by saying that I've heard a lot in this debate over the last 6 months about choice, compassion and dignity. But what about the choice, compassion and dignity of the people I've described? I fundamentally believe it's my job, that it's all our jobs to protect the most vulnerable. And I believe that this bill as it stands fails to do that. I have every sympathy for somebody at the end of their life. As I've said, I believe they should have the right to go on their own terms, at their own time. But are there sufficient safeguards to ensure that in response to those who have links to the press and Parliament to make their voice heard, that we don't fully consider every scenario to safeguard those who don't have those links and don't have a voice? If that choice comes at the price of one person in a borderline capacity decision, presumed to have capacity, it will be one death too many. And it is my view that this is not a price worth paying to allow others to have that choice. And for that reason, I implore colleagues to support my Amendment 24.